Look, I spoke only a couple of weeks ago about our Prime Minister's intervention on the world stage, telling NATO leaders in Madrid that what's happening in Ukraine is, quote, uniting the democratic world. I said at the time I didn't know what uniting the democratic world means, except that, on many fronts, that world seems fairly impotent. Let's face it, look at the fate of Myanmar and the democratically elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi, transferred from house arrest to prison. A 77-year-old democratically elected Nobel laureate, now in solitary confinement and could face a sentence of more than 150 years in jail. And then there is Sri Lanka, a country run by the dynastic Rajapaksas family. Now, we're playing a test series against Sri Lanka, and the brave Sri Lankans are making a real fist of it. But in the capital, Colombo, at the weekend, chaos reigned. As more and more people joined the protests, the police and security forces gave up, and the protesters were inside the presidential palace. They saw firsthand what they knew, the height of luxury and opulence, representing a level of wealth inaccessible to ordinary Sri Lankans. Now, you see some of those photos there. I mean, they played on the president's piano, lounged on his bed, showered in his bathroom, and there you are, swam in the pool, when the nation's anger over its economic and political turmoil was let loose. They achieved one result that was important. The interim Prime Minister, Wickremesinghe, has said he will leave office on Wednesday, and the President, who apparently fled to an unknown location before the protesters arrived, will also step down on Wednesday. But the economic meltdown in Sri Lanka continues. Opposition parties are talking about the formation of a new government. But what difference will that make? Sri Lanka is relying on aid from India and other nations as leaders try to negotiate a bailout with the International Monetary Fund. Wickremesinghe said recently that negotiations with the IMF were complex, listen to this, because Sri Lanka was now a bankrupt state. Months of demonstrations have all but dismantled the Rajapaksa political dynasty, which has ruled Sri Lanka for most of the past 2 decades and is accused, rightly, by protesters of mismanagement and corruption. Fuel costs have made other forms of travel impossible, so the protesters crowded onto buses and trains on Saturday, while others made their way on bicycles and on foot. But so far as the platitudes that the invasion of Ukraine has united the democratic world, where is the democratic world in relation to Sri Lanka, when the Prime Minister has called his own country a bankrupt state? Religious leaders argue President Rajapaksa has lost his mandate, to say nothing of the other family members, all brothers, the sports minister, that's one of them, the justice minister another, the defence minister, the irrigation minister, the agriculture minister, most of them are Rajapaksas, or else they're the lawyers for the Rajapaksas, and they've rorted the country.